All right. So we are on episode 225.
Good.
Managing taxes in retirement.
Everybody's favorite.
Yes. So Jason, why are we talking about taxes today?
Freedom. It is it's for freedom that you have been set free. No, this is kind of a fun time in people's lives, because a lot of times people live a certain area because their job brought them to that area. And so now they get this opportunity to think, do I still want to live here? Is this still the best place for me to live? And so we want to talk about managing taxes in retirement. But one of the things we have to be thinking about, we have to understand the context of the situation that we're in right now. So whether or not you're a Republican or a Democrat or Green Party or a Libertarian, it doesn't really matter because we're all living in America and these are just the numbers. The reality is we have more than $23 trillion of national debt. Yikes. $23 trillion. We have 10,000 baby boomers retiring every single day in our country. And so baby boomers have paid a lot of money into Social Security and Medicare. Those happen to be the number one and number two biggest items on the budget, Medicare and Social Security. And so one of the things that people need to be thinking about is we just had some of the largest tax cuts in the history of our country. Are those tax cuts sustainable? And, Congress, way back in the 1970s, they came out with these retirement accounts that we could start contributing to. And the benefit of those retirement accounts at the time, we had top tax rates in our country that were over 70%. So it made a lot of money to not pay taxes on those dollars as you were earning them. But it also kind of programmed people to put money into these retirement accounts like IRAs and 401ks and TSPs and 403bs, money that's never been taxed. So now everybody's getting ready to retire, or 10,000 people a day are heading into retirement. They want Medicare, they want Social Security. We're spending $1 trillion more than we bring in revenue, so that means we have a deficit. We're deficit spending. And at the same time, the debt continues to grow because we spend more than we bring in. So the question everybody needs to be asking is, are we in a position where tax rates can stay at these all-time lows into the future? Or is it possible that taxes could go up in the future? And if our listeners are like a lot of the people that we serve, people seem to think that there's a good chance that at some point something's going to have to give and taxes may have to go up. So one of the things we're always talking about, Emilia, is retirement is about cash flow, cash flow, cash flow, cash flow. It is your income that determines your net worth in retirement, not your income that determines your lifestyle in retirement, not your net worth. And so we want to make sure people are thinking about their income, not just how much they're generating, but how much they get to keep after everybody else takes a slice of the income. Wow. So that brings us to freedom, just this idea that people have paid taxes a long time. They're going to continue to pay taxes. And we just need to be thinking about how that's going to impact the retirement plan.
Great. All right, Jason. Well, the first item on the list today is where you live and how that impacts your taxes.
Yeah. So I had the good fortune to meet with some folks recently, and they live in a very high tax state, the state of California, not known for low taxes. Beautiful state, but not necessarily known for taxes. And one of the things that they shared with me is that they were thinking of relocating when they moved. So California, just to kind of hit on some of the highlights, they have that we found this really great link, and then we'll put this in the show notes, Emilia, for people, but a really great link that explores the cost of living and taxes in different states for retirement specifically. So this particular website said that California has a cost of living that is 18% higher than the national average. They have property taxes, state income taxes, sales taxes that average is about 8.25% on sales tax. They have alcohol and cigarette tax. They have gas tax. And they also, their fourth largest source of revenue, I found this kind of interesting, is that they have an insurance tax. So that's a tax that's paid by insurance companies, but it's based on premiums that people pay. And it's the fourth largest source of income for the state of California. So that just makes me scratch my head and think, well, geez, if the insurance companies if it costs them more money due to taxes to write an insurance policy in the state of California, then my guess would be that Californians probably have to pay a higher I don't know that for sure, but that would be logical to me that they would have to pay a higher premium for their insurance. if the insurance companies have a higher cost of doing business in that state. Be curious to see if that actually pencils out like that. But so their question was, they said, if we move to a different state in retirement, how would that impact us? And so just out of curiosity, they were in their late 50s as they were asking this question. And so I just said, well, let's look at it. Let's run the numbers both ways. Assume they were thinking about moving to Nevada. Nevada has no state income tax. So the only piece we were evaluating was the state income tax. And what we found was that if they live to age 95, so they're in their late 50s now, if they live to age 95, they will spend hundreds of thousands of dollars less in less taxes by moving to a state that has no state income tax. Now, you have to be careful with this because state income taxes like California, they don't tax Social Security, but they do tax pensions and they tax withdrawals from retirement accounts. And so there's more to it. Like I say, you can't just simply look at the sales tax number. You have to look at all of the different taxes. So, it costs a lot of money to fill up your tank in California with gasoline because they have extra taxes there on those types of things. And it makes me wonder, and this is not the first time this question has come up, but it was really the first time that we did the evaluation where we said, how much more is it going to cost us in taxes over your lifetime? And everybody was, as we looked at those numbers, hundreds of thousands of dollars of additional tax just by living in the state of California. My thought is this: could you live in Nevada, pay no income tax, visit the kids that live in California, spend a couple of months, spend 2 months, in California with the kids and the grandkids, and then move back to your, spend most of your time in a low-cost state. So rather than having to buy a house where the kids are, maybe you could just travel to visit them and keep your low cost of living by living in a state that doesn't cost quite as much. So what's interesting, here are the list of the most tax-friendly states and the least tax-friendly states according to this website. So very tax-friendly are Alaska, Florida, Georgia, Mississippi, Nevada, South Dakota, and Wyoming.
Interesting.
For retirees, those are the most tax-friendly. And then the least not tax-friendly at all are California, Connecticut, Maine, Minnesota, Nebraska, Rhode Island, and Vermont. So some people call this the gray migration, not the great migration,
the gray migration.
The gray migration, because people have freedom now. If they live in a certain area because that's where their job was, and they're saying, we don't have to live here anymore. Yeah. And if we can keep more of our dollars working for us, people are so sensitive to the fees that they're paying, right? They say, geez, I don't know if I want to pay somebody 1% per year to help oversee and manage my investments. But they don't stop to say, well, how much money am I paying per year in taxes to live in the state? And is it worth it to me? And it's worth asking the question.
It is.
It's worth doing the analysis to understand how much it's going to cost you to live there.
Wow. Yeah.
The gray migration.
The gray migration. All right, Jason. So the next area to discuss regarding taxes is health insurance.
Health insurance, yeah. And this is kind of a sneaky tax. So what we're trying to do is talk about managing taxes. That's the purpose of this episode as we prepare for retirement and transition through retirement. And a lot of people don't necessarily think, Emilia, about health insurance. But we had this new Affordable Care Act that went through. And the Affordable Care Act says you get premium subsidies based on your modified adjusted gross income. And so once, let's say you're going to retire early in your 50s, late 50s. So you have a couple of years before Medicare kicks in. Well, depending on which accounts you pull money out of will determine the taxation and what your tax return looks like. So if you have the ability to pull money out of accounts that have already been taxed, things like bank accounts or CDs or non-qualified investment accounts, money that's not in retirement accounts, it's possible that you could have income coming in. You're living off of this resource, but it doesn't necessarily show up on your tax return as income. And so as a result, I remember it was last year we had a gal on to talk about health insurance and in the state of Washington, what some of the costs would be. And she said, it could be as little as $75 per month for a couple to have a high deductible health insurance plan, or as much as $1,200 per month, depending on what their income source looks like because of those premium subsidies. So there's a huge swing in how much money they could potentially pay depending on which accounts they're pulling money out